Mr. Joseph Weller.
Hello,
mate. Thank you
Internet
so
dads.
much for coming on.
Any point where you're there, like, actually, mate, like, I've made the wrong decision here. Like, legit. Be honest.
When
don't
you're,
even have the best room in
you're
my
on your
house.
deathbed, that'll be the thing you think about. You'll be like, I didn't get that spare room anymore. What's the thing you love the most in the world? Like, what's the thing you love to do?
Oh, chalky brownies.
Lack of father figures as a child is what is playing a part in your unsureness as to whether you want to be one.
100%. And the fact that my mum has relentlessly said, guys, definitely think twice before having kids. It's not the be all and end all.
Hello, internet friends. Welcome back to another episode of Internet Dads. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this might be our best episode yet, Rory.
I completely agree.
We'll tell you about what's coming up shortly. But first, a message from our sponsors. Our very first brand deal on Internet Dads. And I have to say, I couldn't be happy about this one. It seems very, very apt. It's our friends at Loop earplugs, right? This one makes a lot of sense, and I'll tell you for why. Remember when Pandora was born?
Yeah.
I gifted you Pandora's box. Lots of little presents inside, including some earplugs.
I use them every night.
Well, you don't need to anymore. You can throw them away because we've upgraded you, right? These, take a look at them. That's the dream earplugs from Loop earplugs, right? These are specifically designed to help you get some shut-eye, which I know you need. You've been struggling a little bit recently, let's be honest. You nearly turned up for the shoot yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what day it is at the moment. It's been really, really tough.
The Loop Dream is perfect for side sleepers, who struggle with those nighttime noises, snoring, for example. Well, this is going to sort you right out. I've actually been using the Switch earplugs from Loop, and maybe not for the same problem, but in my house, we talk about this a little bit. It gets quite busy. It's a bit frenetic. There's lots of things going on. I stick my earplugs in, and I'm in my own little world. I can crack on with my day and get things done.
Mate, this is fantastic. They fit like a glove.
Yeah, try them on.
Mate, they come in 4 different sizes as well, which is superb.
What we like about them as well is they're a little bit more of like a
Peaceful.
fashion accessory. They look much better than your classic kind of earplug. These are stylish and, dare I say, make you a bit of a man about town.
Mate, I could colour coordinate them. I need to get a bit peachy in my pajamas to match my earplugs. Cool, the Loop Dream earplugs, they really are the dream. Let me have a look at these switches.
Yeah, so these ones I've been using a lot more, I have to say. I don't struggle with my sleep as much as you, maybe because we've got the separate bedroom thing going on. But the Loop Switch, what it does is it adapts to any situation with 3 noise reduction modes, right? That means they're perfect for things like events, busy environments, or anyone that's experiencing like noise sensitivity.
You could wear them to a rave. You could kind of like... a gift that keep giving. Oh, mate, that is inner peace.
Tell me about it. They are right up your street. And for me, it makes them a much more appealing alternative to those typical orange foam earplug things.
Those ones you got me.
Yeah, pretty much. Scan the QR code on the screen now, and do not forget to use our discount code, which is LoopX-InternetDads for 20% off, or you can tap the link in the description to get your Loop earplugs. Now then, Rory, we've got to talk about today's guest.
He's a king.
He really is. A very good friend of mine, someone I've known a long time, Joe Weller. And we're going to get into it on the episode, but he basically reached out to us. He's been listening, he's been watching. He's not a dad. He's not expecting to be a dad anytime soon, but he wants to talk about that. And he's got some thoughts which, in his words, probably represent a lot of our audience, maybe at some point in their life. So can't wait to get into it. If you're not familiar with Joe Weller, I don't know what you've been doing, but he's a long-standing part of the YouTube community in the UK, more than 10 years into it. And what hasn't he done? He started off kind of making videos, like comedy videos, but always with a real filmic side to them. I always respected that when he first came on my radar. I went the extra mile. I saw a little bit of myself in him, I have to admit. And I always liked Joe. I've always had a connection with him. And but then obviously he did his music. He had some songs that I think achieved some proper success in the mainstream. He had some sort of more comedy things like the Kitty song and all this stuff, and his Ronaldo chop and all that stuff. But he also had some like dance bangers. He had a bit of a partnership with Elliot Crawford for a while. They produced some songs. He's well known for his like haunted house videos where he goes and explores these areas. And whatever he does, so many different things I've forgotten to say there. He brings a real authenticity, energy, humour to everything he does. He's also a fellow Studios podcast. He's got the Waffling podcast, of course, with our friends Theo Baker and Luke. And I really enjoy that because they're boys from back home.
Yeah.
They're still doing it together, and they're going through crazy experiences in this world we're in, but they still have that ability to relate to each other. And, you feel like you're their extra mate
Yeah.
at the table.
No,
when they
it's
chat.
a great podcast, and it really feels wholesome, and you can tell that they've been friends from day dot, can't you?
Yeah, and
Great to have him on. Get in, Joe.
Well, yeah, I mean, and let's get into it. This is a guy who's not a dad, but I actually think has brought so much to the table with this episode. So we hope you enjoy it. And if you do, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff at Internet Dads Pod. Leave a rating if you're listening on audio platforms. We really appreciate it. It does help us do more things like what we think is a great episode here with Joe Weller. Enjoy. So we are joined by a very good friend of mine, someone I've known for well over a decade now, I think, actually, Mr. Joseph Weller.
Hello,
mate. Thank you
Internet
so much
Dads.
for coming on. This is a real honour.
This is a dream come true. I listen
us.
every week. Every Thursday I'm there. Love it. Go running. It's such an easy listen. And as someone that's not an internet dad, like I can't even fathom being a dad. Like, I just wanted to come on and actually talk to you boys.
Yeah, I love that about you, Joe. You know, we were exchanging some DMs, and I was actually surprised to hear that you listen. Not because I don't think we're making a good podcast, but I hadn't even really fathomed the idea that people that maybe aren't either a dad or aren't at least expecting would listen. And you had a really interesting take on it. I mean, you want to tell me what you said? You sort of said about you think you might represent a certain part of the audience.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be people watching, listening that are intrigued by the idea of being a dad. Feel like maybe it's their purpose, but actually like it doesn't come natural to want it or to see how they're going to get to that point. And I think that's definitely me. Like 29 years old now, at no point have I ever felt like 100% I know how to be a dad. I know when I want to be a dad, or just like how to even go about it. Obviously, I know how to go about it. But, like, do you know what I mean?
I'll give you a few
Beyond that point, I wouldn't say it's something that's natural to me.
Would you, so when you, because this is what happens, like 29 particularly, as you get to that 30 number, particularly maybe more with women, because obviously women have like a biological clock, which is less apparent for the man. We can do it later in life. But I found, certainly as you get towards that age, you get these questions about it. Like, if someone asks you one of those questions, do you have a thought process when someone says, like, do you want to be a dad? Or we had Danny Aarons on a few weeks ago, and he was like, not only so sure he wanted to be a dad, he was very sure he wanted to be a young dad. Like, where do you sit on all that stuff?
Well, this is the thing. I'm like, I feel like I will have great qualities in guidance, teaching. Like, I enjoy sharing things that I feel like I've learned that could be valuable for people that I love and care about. But it's like, it's the baby thing. It's the sacrificing, and arguably, you know, being a dad, being a parent is the ultimate sign of love, because it is complete selflessness. You're not getting anything in return. You are simply giving the love wholeheartedly. And it's like, am I slightly egotistical in not wanting to give that up? Am I wanting to still be selfish in ways? I don't know, but I know in the long run, I feel like what will give me the most good feelings is not being selfish and just doing things for me, but actually giving in the loving way that a parent does.
It's very natural, though. I think it's also very wise to kind of acknowledge that you aren't sure. Like, I think that we live in a world, don't we, where you have to, everything is binary, everything is definitive. I know this, and this is the truth.
Yeah.
I think you are allowed to go, I'm not quite sure about this.
Such a big decision.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if it will be for me. I would certainly like that for a point in my life. Will you?
Well, I'll say a little bit different to you in the sense of, I've always loved kids. So, like, I'm the guy, ever since I've been really a teenager, I'd say, if there was a family occasion, there was kids there, I would flock to the kids rather than the adults. Like, and I carried on, even in my mid-20s, you know, Alex has got a lot of nieces and nephews, I'd almost, to the point of, like, not even talking to the adults the whole time, would go and hang out with the kids and play games with them and be that big kid. It just comes naturally to me. And it's something my mum is really like as well. So then when I got to very close to, well, actually your age, it was 29 when it all started kicking off for me. And I realized I wasn't sure that I wanted kids. It was like a awareness that something was wrong, because I did know intrinsically I was almost meant to be a dad, but I didn't want them at that point. So it was a different situation maybe than yourself, where I was like almost trying to break down what's going on with me, because I know I want them, but I know I don't. I'm out of my own head basically. I'm not myself. And that created a whole sort of sequence of events and I'm going to go on waffling later, and we're going to talk about some of this stuff that I haven't talked about actually before, and a whole kind of finding myself phase of my life, which ultimately ended in me wanting to have kids. It wasn't just for the kids thing. I had a relationship that essentially broke down because of our difference of opinion on this matter,
But it's good to ask yourself questions.
Yeah, mainly I was just unhappy though.
In a way that Joe, you're just saying there, like asking yourself questions and not just assuming that one day I'll be a dad, which I think a lot of people do. And I think it's also certainly the way that society molds us. We're seen to... It's part of the furtherance of your life is having children. That's how you're kind of molded. I think it's good to at least question that, I think.
Well, maybe it's increasingly less like that now as well. If you take it back hundreds of years, I think, or maybe less than that, but like it was very much like the order of things. You know, you didn't look outside of your town, really. If you went to school, you found a partner from maybe that school or that town, you settled down, you had kids young. It was just very much a sequence of events that was quite limited. I think what we have now is a world where it's unlimited. You can go anywhere, you can do anything, you can meet anyone, you can be anyone. So the idea of having a child can seem quite restrictive because it stops you doing those things. So I think we're seeing people have kids later. I think we're seeing people live their life. But something I feel is like, you're never going to get everything done. Do you know what I mean? You're never going to go, right, I've done everything I wanted to do now. It's time to have kids. There'll always be other stuff. Me and Alex literally had that conversation. We were like, not have we done everything. We had an actual YouTube series called 30 Things to Do Before We're 30 that we're trying to do. And we didn't do all 30. But when we got to the decision of having kids in the end, we were like, we've done enough. Like, we'll try and do more later with the kids when we're older.
There's never a good time to have children. I think there can be a bad time, but there's never a good time because there's always it's such an intrusion.
But you said something really interesting there, Joe, I think, which is you said particularly about the word baby, like the baby stage is very hard. And I think I'm generalizing, but I think for the man, maybe more so, because actually I was reading something about this week. So when a woman... What are you laughing at?
That's brilliant.
You don't like it?
It's amazing, isn't it?
What?
There's something so brilliant about what you just said there.
What did I say?
The baby stage is really hard for the man.
Oh, yeah.
There's loads of girls now going,
no, don't twist
what?
It's not what I mean.
It's really hard for who?
What I mean is it's hard for the man to enjoy it. That's what I mean. Like, and the woman has issues that make her not enjoy it as well. But what I'm saying is, and you'll see with my point next, right? So when you're like a woman and you are breastfeeding, for example, or you are coddling like your child at night, you are releasing oxytocin, you're releasing more of this thing which actually connects you. I'll find the clip and send it to you, connects you to the baby, and it basically rewards your brain with positive feelings when you're doing this thing. With the man, it doesn't happen. Like, it physically doesn't happen. What the man gets the oxytocin from is playing. So when you're like the age my kids are now and we're actually play fighting and throwing each other around, we love it. It's not a, like you said, I'm doing something for the kid. No, you're actually doing something for yourself. You're getting rewards in your brain, but you don't get them from the baby stage, generally. Okay. So there's actually a chemical reason as to why it comes less natural to the man at that stage. So you're right. It isn't that as enjoyable as the later years are.
No, the baby stage is a nightmare.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, people will pretend that it isn't. And I think that people, because they love their child, they will say that it's great, but it's hell. It is hell. It's so difficult.
But is it hell in the sense of, like, if you're working towards another goal that you've achieved in your career or something, like where it's hard, it's hard, but it's worth it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any point where you're there, like, actually, mate, like, I've made the wrong decision here?
I think there'll be people
like,
think,
legit.
No,
Real friends here.
Or they just
be honest.
No, I've never regretted any of those decisions. I'll tell you what I am definitely doing though. There are no more children coming.
You said that after one.
That's a
he was going to have the snip.
No,
you didn't.
I've kind of chickened out a bit because do you know what? I'm really keen on a vasectomy, and my wife's keen on me having a vasectomy as well, which I think is quite flattering because it presumably means that she still wants to continue having coitus with me, which is good, right? Which is great.
Yes.
But I thought I'd be really up for it, but I've done like a little bit more research. Google's not good for this. Somebody in a Google review of this, like talking about like the burning smell. I was like, mate, I don't want to get that. So, and do you know the other thing? I actually phoned up and thought I'll sort this out, and I thought I would be saved by, like our crumbling NHS, like NHS wait times and all that. They basically went, come in. I was like, wait, what? I thought they'd go, oh, we'll book you in.
What is the process of that? Like,
you're an outpatient. You're in and out in a day.
Do they like chop your knob in half? Like what?
I think it's more of a tie than a snip these days.
Okay,
it's more of a tie.
But do they have to really open you up?
Like, I think they.
Like, how does it actually work?
They go.
Maybe not actually.
They go in the gap between.
Yes.
I think they go up that way.
Okay.
I think that's the route.
I've got quite a few mates that done it, and they like speak like very highly about it.
Because I know you have to sit on a
Painless,
rubber ring.
in and out.
You have to sit on a rubber ring afterwards. You have to. If you ever see a man walking around with like a blow-up ring that your child would use in a swimming pool, it means that he's probably had a vasectomy.
Or he's had piles, and he's had piles taken
Or
out.
he's had piles.
But that's the same thing,
Yeah,
apparently.
because you
I
basically
from a
get
friend.
your. You basically have to suspend your undercarriage so that it doesn't sit on anything.
Undercarriage.
Yeah. So if
Very
say
painful.
for example, a dog was to jump up at you or something like that,
Yes.
you're in big trouble, mate. Yeah. So no more, but no regrets
Okay.
is the way I would say. Like absolutely no regrets.
Yeah. I think
But it's
the idea
hard.
that you'd think you made a mistake is hard to relate to that, if I'm honest. But I do think there's definitely a world where you could just be like, this, in the moment, this is particularly in the early stage. And I think we experience this a lot less with the second child, but it was the adaptation from no kids to one kid. There are moments when you're just like, this is hell. Not that I don't
it's
want
4
to
a.m.
do
and it's
it.
your fifth wake up. It's
Yeah.
4 a.m.
Yeah.
and it's the fifth time that you're doing a feed or whatever.
The difference of comparison with like the career stuff you mentioned, right? Like, especially in this game, we're all in. Like, we're all kind of self-starters. We're all
Yeah.
fairly entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about that, and where I think I found success, is I'm quite good at saying, I don't need anyone else. Just leave it with me. Like,
Yeah.
I will make this happen, and I will find the way.
Yeah.
You know, I always work better like that than I did in a sort of production company with bosses telling me what to do and things. When you got a kid, you're losing that autonomy. You're like, I don't control this situation. If this baby just does some crazy stuff, I have to stop the thing I want to do. And you're no longer in control in the same way. And it's the loss of control. You have to just throw yourself over to it and be like, right, I am a passenger in this journey for the next few years. But it'll be so worth it when you get out the other side.
What makes it worth it?
See, this is the thing. When you said earlier about having a baby is really Rory can if he disagree, for the audio listeners, Rory's putting a sort of questionable face. But when you said earlier about it being this like super selfless thing, it's not for you, it's for them. Like, I actually don't think that's true.
Okay.
And I don't think you'll fully. I don't mean this in a patronising way whatsoever, but I don't think you'll truly understand that until if the day comes when you have kids. Because
Yeah.
I literally changed. I evolved into a new Pokemon the minute I became a dad. Like, my whole world changed. And when you're doing the hard bits, yeah, it's annoying, but there is a two-way thing going on. Like, you have a new.
Really?
What's the thing you love the most in the world? Like, what's the thing you love to do?
Oh,
Like,
bloody
the most-
chalky brownies.
Like, you have a chalky brownie, whatever it could be. It could be playing football, it could be making music, it could be whatever,
okay.
right? That joy you get,
Yep.
it's a different kind of joy for sure. But you get it from holding something you've created in your arms.
Right.
Like, and it might take you a while. Some people have, it's like postpartum depression, all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
That happens to the man as well as the woman, by the way. Some people take a while to get over that. But fundamentally, you can't understand until you do it how much you're getting from this
It was
thing.
defining. It was defining for me. I was completely unemployed and completely unemployable until I had a kid. Genuinely, like I was unemployed the day that my
better person.
It made me a person. It made me
made
just
you-
some. It made me like
Okay.
somebody. It made me something. So like before, it was like I thoroughly enjoyed my 20s. Don't get me wrong, but I just sort of boozed them away. Really, I think
As you should, as you should. But I think what you just said is a very relevant thing. It made you a person, right? We talked last week about if you want to experience the full spectrum of the human condition,
Yes.
having children is part of that. Whether you right, doesn't mean you have to do it, but there is something for certain people about us not being complete until we have the child, and that's not. Again, it speaks more to it's a two-way thing. Yes, you're creating a life. You are giving a thing an opportunity to live in the world, and you are looking after it. But maybe they're also giving you something. Maybe they're also finding the missing piece of the puzzle. Like, I don't think I'm the complete puzzle, but I tell you, I got a lot more pieces than I did before I was a parent.
They do take a lot, though. I'm gonna like it is. You are right to kind of say they do take a lot. So, for example, I don't have a spare room office anymore. I now have an office built in my garden because that's effectively where I have to go. So I've given up a huge percentage of my house to my children. I don't even have the best room in my
When you're on your
house.
deathbed, that will be the thing you think about. You'll be like, I didn't get that spare room anymore. I wish I still had it.
They do take a lot.
Do you think you'd have that same love for the thing that you created if it wasn't made with someone you love?
No.
As in, if it was like a surrogacy
Imagine if you accidentally, because there'll be people watching like that maybe had a one night
Do you
stand.
know what-
and
you know
accidentally
what?
had a kid and she's keeping it.
Mate.
I don't think that would
You'd have
change.
the same.
I think you love the child the same, but you usually wouldn't have that connection with your co-parent.
I tell you what I learned about myself, though, which is quite interesting. Spencer's very different here. Spencer regularly talks about adopting and knowing that he has enough love to give.
Yes.
What I learned about myself, like I had a stepdad that was incredibly important in my life, right? We still have a semblance of a relationship, but the reason I'm a Chelsea fan, for example, is my mum's boyfriend, who's a cab driver in London, was a Chelsea fan, took me to the games, and that's how it evolved. I had that person to look up to, that fatherly figure, as well as my own dad who was kind of featuring, but the relationship was closer at one point in my life with the stepdad. What I learned about myself, I had a girlfriend, one of my first relationships, and a long relationship. It was wild. It was on and off. It was very turbulent. Like I have a lot of fond memories and a lot of time for the girl. You know, I wish her well. I'm not in touch with her anymore, but I wish her well. But she had a kid. And what I learned about myself, particularly when I was young, was despite having a stepdad, I kind of learned that if I were to have kids in my life, I'm not going to be someone else's dad. I kind of learned that about myself, and I had to admit that I needed my own children if I were to be a fatherly figure. It worked for me because I didn't know if I wanted kids when I was with her. Okay. It also taught me that if I am going to be a dad, I don't think I have the material or the minerals to be a stepdad, which is a very selfless thing.
Your paternal gene to kick in for you particularly, exactly. you need it to be biological.
It might have changed as I got older because I wasn't ready to be a father to my own children at that age when I was with her. Yeah. But I certainly wasn't ready to be a father to her child.
Yeah.
So I learned that maybe everybody's different here, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to have kids then. But I certainly wasn't ready to be the father to someone else's. So there was that. At least I learned that.
Did that make you think differently about your stepdad as well? Because
it made me admire him more.
Yeah.
It made me admire him because I had to accept it was a limitation in my life. I don't know if this makes me sound not the best here. I don't know if I'm kind of painting myself in a fairly ugly
That's what we do on this podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if I am, but it made me admire him more.
Yeah,
like of course, like he was a brilliant stepdad in many ways, but just having the love, he treated me certainly as his own. He gave me everything that he would ever give to someone that was his own. So he was excellent for that. And yeah, I did have to admit, and it was quite an ugly admission. I'm not that. I need to. If I am to be a dad, it will be to my offspring.
And sometimes you get, because I think that's really interesting, like a sort of insight into your upbringing and stuff. But sometimes you get a little bit of a taster, and you get nieces and nephews. So you're an uncle,
yeah,
right? So same with me. I've got, I lose track. I think I've got 8 nieces and nephews.
God.
Is it 8? It might be 9.
Uncle Spence.
There's loads. I've got 2 that are like from my actual brothers or my older brother. And then we've got, I think we've got 6 others. Yeah, so we've got 8 on Alex's side.
And you've got your Uncle Joe to one.
Niece and nephew.
You've got niece and nephew. So you're double uncle.
So like the one thing that compared to anyone else that I'm good at with them, above anyone else.
Launch them around.
By far. Is I make them laugh. I somehow know how to make them laugh. I don't know if that's just like something that comes natural to me, with my job or whatever.
How old are they?
4 and 5. Okay. So it's like it's at the age where they can sort of get things. They've seen things like they've watched Kitty and they love it. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. But like just even like doing wrestling moves or whatever. But anything beyond that, I am clueless. So it's like when they came along, because I was the youngest child in the whole family until these guys came along. For like 25 years, I'm the baby. And now these 2 new ones are along. Firstly, I've never been around kids. Some people may have grown up with younger siblings or like seen babies in the family from young. I just never had ever actually seen one. I'd never seen one up close. So it's so unnatural for me to actually be around one. And it was like, I just did not know what to do. Yeah. So all the while that they're babies and they're not like, they can't understand any forms of almost like banter that they can maybe get at like 5 years old.
You're giving them your best material. They weren't even reacting.
Exactly. And like between like, I don't know, 0 to like 3, like it's sort of, I just don't have a clue. And I would find like the noise, say like the family table, we used to be able to talk. Yeah. Like birthdays, Christmas, whatever, talk. Now it's just a freaking chaos.
No, kids
and
will
it's
ruin
like,
that.
I don't know whether, and this is where I'm like, a doctor did say, I think you might have ADHD or something like that. You can get quite overwhelmed, like noises and stuff. the noise, it will actually physically, I would feel just like my stress bucket just fill up, and I will actually need to like get out the room.
Yeah. I think that's all
And
very
it's
natural,
like,
though.
shit, imagine that's just a noise. Like, imagine that's my kids. I can't just get out the room.
No.
Like, that's, you know what I mean?
No,
It's
you
like,
can-
But I think your bond is different as well, because
Yeah.
you know when it's someone else's kid, if someone else's kid was making a racket, I'd be like, you know, if I'm on a plane and someone else's kid making a racket,
yeah.
For example.
I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
This is outrageous. Well, if it's my kid and someone
Yeah.
looks at me funny, I'm like, what? Do you really?
you
Really?
wanna
Do you
fight?
want to? Yeah.
wait, is that
Yeah,
actually
I will crush you.
Because the way in which I can sort of relate to that is, say, like, regarding like a video, like, I will go to the ends of the earth to do what needs to be done to make a video the best it can be. I will stay up all night long.
Yeah.
I will commit. If someone tried to get me to do that for their project,
I'd be like, mate, it's
Exactly.
5
and
o'clock.
I wonder if it's like that. If it's like,
It is.
when it's my project, mate, I am so obsessed
Yeah.
with doing whatever it takes. So I'm
you
like,
go.
surely I'll just apply that.
That's exactly the same.
This is
That's
a great.
that's
So
it.
this is
That's
actually
exactly
Go.
it.
This
That's
is
exactly
why
it.
Class.
when I first saw you on YouTube and we first got to know each other, I always felt a bit of a connection to you because we come up in an era of YouTube where if you went the extra mile, you really stood out.
Yes.
And I always went the extra mile in my stuff, but I had an excuse because I'd bit older. I've worked in production companies. I didn't even understand you could do it worse. Do you know what I mean? You had to do it that way. But I looked at you as someone younger. I think you've done your like media studies and stuff at school. But I was like, no, this kid gets it. He is putting the extra mile in. And I think that's been apparent in all the things you've done, whether it's music, whether it's your production value on the various different things you've done. What you just said is 100% right. When my younger brother turned 21, I wrote him this big, like, shows you how, like, you know,
Neurotic.
neurotic I am. I wrote him this big, like, essay, basically, on my thoughts on life at that time. I was only 24, and I'm really honest in it. I don't know if this is right. This is what I think. And I'm trying to give
I
him
love
something.
that. He's 24 years old. He's like Confucius to his younger brother. 24, these are the things you need to know to be a man.
Yeah, it sort of is. It's sort of that to me. We should read it out one day. It's sort of like that, but it's sort of more, it is more like, you know, self-deprecating. I'm like, look, I'm on a journey, but I'm 3 years ahead of you. So if this helps you, great, sort of thing. And one of the things I say in that is so similar to what you just said. I basically use Football Manager as an example. I go, right, anyone who's ever played Football Manager knows this understanding, right? You get so involved and emotionally connected to your save. It's so important whether you win this game or the Champions League, whatever. As soon as you try and tell the next person about your save, they do not give a shit, right? Because it's not theirs. And Football Manager back then, it was a one-player game. It's not like an online thing. So you care so much, they can give a shit. And there's a massive disconnect. And that is basically what we're talking about here with kids.
Right.
Like, of course, people don't not give a shit about your kids, but they don't,
No, but they don't.
want you to
No, they
annoy them. It's the same for you. You just talked about how much you would put into a project that's got your name on it. That's something that's associated with you.
Yeah.
And you're being almost judged on it, or it's important to you that it's received well. And anyone in this game has some sort of interest in being received well or achieving some sort of acclaim for what they do. You don't get into this industry without that. But if someone else goes, help me with my video, you're like, man, I've got better things to do. That is
Well,
it.
actually, I would help them, but I think
No,
more
but yeah,
the
you know what I
emotional
mean,
care of like doing whatever it takes. It's more of like, I'm here
yeah.
to take part rather than like, my video, like you're saying, like when it's my project. And that's what I guess gave me a bit of like hope that like, if that is what will happen, because I have like zero ability to at the moment see how there's
The upside.
the upside of kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that is how it is, then I actually have nothing to worry
do you see a
about.
touch of the upside from your sister's kids? Like, do you see a development maybe in your sister? Has your sister become a slightly more rounded person, more adult, more selfless? No,
Nah,
none of the above.
I'd say
None,
she's
absolutely not. No,
I'd say
none.
she's always just been that.
Right.
That's the
Oh,
thing.
has she?
We are opposites in every way. Like, I'm right-handed, she's left-footed.
Right.
I'm left-footed, she's right-footed.
Okay.
She's a girl, I'm a boy. She's into maths, I'm into creating stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? We are opposites in every way. So I was like, maybe this is just how she is, and then this is just how I am. It comes so natural to her. She's amazing at it. And her fiance is amazing at it, always wanted it. And this is what I guess, another thing, like seeing how certain people, even though they haven't got their own kids, the way they are to other kids, it's like they're their own. Like they can just instantly connect
Are
with
you
them.
like that with her kids? So you know
Nah.
when you're with them and you're playing, and you said that you have that relationship
have a
and you can
laugh.
throw them around and you do. Do you? Yeah. Do you feel it then? You know when it's just kind of going
I
well
haven't-
and you're
that's
doing
more-
suplexes.
I'd say like that's like me playing with Theo or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's like having fun with like fellow humans.
It's like Theo.
What about
Yeah, we have a similar level of conversation.
But I don't have this like. I'll be real. I'm not like I absolutely love this individual with my entire being. Oh my god, that's my family. I'm just sort of like these are other people.
Right.
So
And I'm like, oh shit, that makes me feel like a bad person. Am I a dickhead? Why do I not feel?
no. You
Do you
know
what I mean?
If let's fast forward a few years. Imagine one of your niece or nephews is in secondary school or whatever, primary school, and they come up to you and they go, Uncle Joe, I haven't told my mum about this, but I've got this problem at school. Like someone's picking on me. Like, what would you think your initial reaction would be?
Oh yeah, instantly I want to help with that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all you need to know. Like that the care is there. It's in a different way. Like, you shouldn't feel lesser than, for example, you saying, I'm only good at making jokes. Yeah, but some people are rubbish at that. You know, so some people, I talked about me and my mum being great with kids. I mean, very specifically, kind of like what you're describing, being the fun uncle, messing about with kids of a certain age and above.
Yeah.
I'm very useless with babies. Very useless. And and my mum is the same, by the way. I'm not saying she's useless, but like she's so good with the kids. But she isn't a baby nan. Like Alex's mum is really good baby nan. She loves holding babies and all the little cute stuff. And that's not me.
I don't know what to say when people show me their baby. I really don't. It's fairly interchangeable, and as an experience, it's fairly interchangeable. I think you're allowed to be like that. But I think it will develop. Because do you know what as well? You mentioned at the start of this, you're 29 years old.
Yeah.
Some people are ready to be parents very young. Some people are naturally parental, naturally maternal, naturally paternal, and it all is part of who they are. Other people, like as I feel like you might be, and I certainly was 29. I don't want to be dad at 29. I'm a kid at 20. You know what I mean? Talking specifically for me. So you may be feeling that you don't have the connection, or you don't have not necessarily the emotional maturity, but just you're not ready. I think that's also totally fine.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's an evolution that's going to happen over the next, what do you reckon, about 5 years?
Some men have kids that, you know Theo Von, you know the comedian Theo Von. You know his dad was like 84 when he had him.
What?
There's some joke.
Al Pacino's just had a baby.
Yeah, Al Pacino's like
and Robert De Niro.
They're both like late 70s dads. There's a gag that Theo Von does in his stand-up, and I'll butcher it now, but he basically says something like, he's talking about how old his dad was. He's like, y'all guys won't believe this. My granddad was born in 1903. I think it might even be 18 something.
That's
the biggest gap, right? So some men do it differently, and some people have loads of kids over a big period. Some people don't. But it's all at your own time. And the other thing is, you know, I know some people do it this way, but traditionally, you know, it's a partnership. It's a two-way thing you're doing. You don't want to take on the concept of doing it on your own. So you have to be sure that there's two people that are ready, ideally, and you're at a certain place in your relationship and all these things. So as one individual, it's much bigger than that. Do you know what I mean? But I think like what you're experiencing is probably actually the more usual situation for the average 29-year-old male now than anything else.
I was definitely that. And it wasn't until it was my 30th birthday that I asked Victoria out. And it was when I was with her, who was like more adult, that I was then ready. She's younger than me, but she made me stop doing the dumb stuff, basically.
Yeah.
But do you think there's an element of obviously the body clock of a female that has added the pressure, or is a big pressure for the lads? Like, if you're not ready, it's like, well, you can't need to be ready because
it's a big pressure. Well, mate, what you can't do, I believe, what you can't do is be with somebody who may want children and you know that you don't, or you're not ready. What you can't do is kind of waste her time. If you know, for example, if you were to be in a relationship with a 34-year-old girl,
yes,
it would be, in my opinion, your responsibility to either have the baby now or break up so that she could potentially find somebody to have.
We'll have the conversation at least. I mean, that's literally why Alex and I did break up when we broke up, because she was the same age as me and her body clock was kicking in. I don't think Alex will mind me saying this, but she's never been a particularly maternal person, in the same way that when we were on those family trips or whatever, and I'd be hanging out with the kids, Al wasn't, she's a good auntie, of course she is, but she wasn't like desperate to hang out with the kids. She wasn't desperate to do those things, other people's kids. She's an amazing mum.
A doting mother.
She's an amazing mum. I wouldn't change a thing about her as a mum, but it didn't come naturally to have other people's kids. And that's a woman who's naturally more maternal.
Identical to that.
So sometimes it's different if it's your own kid, and you go through, like I say, an evolution. The thing with the both people, but particularly the mother, is you get that 9-month period, right, where they're literally growing inside you, and you are becoming a mother,
right,
whilst you're not actually doing the motherly duties,
right.
So it's a process.
But that's applicable to the father as well, I think. I think you can see there can be a bit of an awakening within you. Like, you know, particularly when Victoria was pregnant with Clementine, you know, when I could see the baby developing and all that, it was a bonding experience for me. Obviously incomparable to what Victoria was doing, because it was within her body. But I also felt that. I was like, hey, wow, like this is get a job, mate.
Yeah,
this is getting
real. It's
this
almost
is
like
it.
a warning from nature. Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
gives
There's
you a heads
men for
up.
that as well. Like they're a little oven that cooks a human being.
I know.
Like, what is that, mate?
It's
Yeah,
crazy,
right.
man.
Do you
It's crazy.
know how does that
Crazy.
not? I just find it all just.
We just make peace with
Insane.
it that it happens, but it's actually mad.
Actually mental.
It's so much of it is mad. We are definitely losing connection as a society with that like magic of being human. That's what I'm worried about. I know we talk about it on like the tablets and all the screens. We're just slowly becoming less human and we're becoming more robotic.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's going to be a good thing or not for Earth and for the world, but for people that care about us as a human being, we're definitely losing that capacity. And that's why I think, again, having a kid and being part of that process keeps you alive. You know what I mean? Because we're going in one direction. We're not talking about a 1920s, geezer, in the early 20th century saying, I don't want kids, I'm going to concentrate on this. If you don't want kids now and you commit to that idea, what does your future look like? Like, I think we're going to see more and more people.
With cats.
I'm obviously generalizing here, but like if you look at the way AI is going, technology is going, there's talk about if you're like single, say in your mid 30s, a lot of people now are like choosing just not to get a partner because they're like, actually, I can be very fulfilled from other worlds. Fast forward 5 years, you're going to be able to have these like unbelievable sex robots, basically, or you can have AI experiences that make you think you've got a partner. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Every now and again,
the
this
Matrix
happens,
is happening.
Joe. Every now and again,
I'm
this
right.
happens.
The Matrix is happening. In 5 years, we'll be plugging in our garage and we can be
See,
anything
this
we
is
want to
it.
be.
Basically, once a podcast, this happens.
We can be anything we want to be.
And when Spencer is on waffling, once in that podcast, it will happen, and you just kind of go, "All right, this is
Goes
Spencer's
on board
moment."
with it.
Here
No,
we
it's
go.
goes on board with
true
it.
though. It is true.
Can't hide from the future. It's coming for
sex
a thought.
robots, man.
No, sex robots would actually be preferable to the AI version.
I don't want to have
Then
sex
you got
with a
to
robot.
plug in.
I never ever.
But
Want
you
to
wouldn't
have
even know it's a robot.
sex. I would.
Yeah, you would know because it's better than the real thing.
Can't be better.
It will be.
can't be.
It won't be better
It'll be
emotionally.
made out of metal.
No, it's not metal. Come on, we've got the rubber technology. We've got the silicon.
I'm not having sex with a robot, mate. No matter
hear.
what you suggest I do, I'm never ever going to have sex with a robot. Nothing
Well,
is.
the robot won't want to have sex with you, mate. No, but that is true, though. I do think that obviously you can choose not to have kids and you can still be human and be part of that experience and do whatever you want to do. But the world is going in a certain way. And depending on the reason for not having kids and what you're going to then do the rest of your life, like it's not so simple as, oh, but I'm going to definitely have a partner and we're going to live.
But you know how, like you said, it's not the 20s anymore or whatever. Like my house is my house is definitely the 50s. So 2025, but my house is 1955. Chelsea just won the league. Like that's where we are. It's 1955. You know those ideals, like we constantly say, like the progressiveness and whatever. You know the ideals that our grandparents had? They're all right, aren't they? Are they quite like?
What do you mean by that?
Like
You know, to change.
you know how our grandparents would have just assumed that they're going to get married, they're going to have children, one day they're going to be grandparents, and they will probably have to go to war.
Yeah.
Apart from the war bit, all of those other ideals are quite valiant and nice.
But do you think once being exposed to like the possibilities of nowadays, i.e. knowing that the world is so big, you can easily hop on a flight and actually like, I mean, now that I've done all this traveling, I'm like, oh, I don't want to miss out on not fulfilling all of the traveling and seeing all of the world that I want to do. Like, but
no, children will stifle that. It won't totally curtail it, but it will stifle it. You don't just swan off to like sub-Saharan Africa with a 3-week-old baby.
I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and do that stuff, but I need the kids to get older. I need the kids to get. But I want to do like unreal stuff with my kids. I want to expose them to stuff, take them to places. Like, so I'm not really interested in normal school and stuff like that because I want to be able to keep flexible. Take them to Africa and the jungle, and take them to Amazon. I know you've been there, and I'm really keen to go there as well. Like, and not everyone's in a position to do that, of course, but it's about being deliberate in what their next 10 years and my next 10 years are going to look like.
Because where you grow up, like, mate, that literally decides so much about you. As in, like, he's growing up in England. I actually don't know if that's the wisest idea.
No, I agree,
like,
mate. I agree.
It's one of the reasons why I want to do, like, later this year, I'm doing 6 weeks in Australia just to have a look. So I'm like, that everyone, you look at it, everyone's saying Australia is the best place.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it could be.
Terrible fashion.
But what about this then? So you go to the most ideal place, but you're away from the rest of your family.
This
so, like,
is the trap.
Now they're not going to have their grandparents, their aunties and uncles. It's like, do you create a new sort of almost like system of family out there or what?
Do you ever think about yourself at 70? Like, do you ever like? So maybe now it's all a bit raw, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like children and stuff. But do you like the idea of being older, surrounded by family, a grandparent potentially? Do you ever think about that side of being a parent? To lead to
I
that?
actually can't put myself physically in that mental headspace of like, right, so because right now I'd view it as how I view it now, which is I like being surrounded by kids. It's like, oh, go away. Like, so, but then I'm like, surely by then, if I'm like, 70 with my, fellow grandmother who's obviously I'm the granddad, like, and we're like, and they've got this nice family dynamic. Your interests will be different as well. Like, that will probably be ideal. But it's almost like right now, I'm like, I don't want to miss out on fulfilling everything that I know I can. And I know I'm in a very unique position as well.
Yeah,
because like you're saying about, the almost limitations of like the normal ways of living before. Like you have a small settlement of, a community and you choose from a select amount of girls that are around you. And that's sort of it. And then you have your traditional sort of values. Now, I can actually work. I could do anything.
Yeah, you can. You
Like,
could do it today as well.
actually
You could
could
do it
do
today.
anything.
You could literally do it now, couldn't you?
Like,
yeah,
which
Spencer and I can't do that.
mental. And I'm like, oh my God, like giving all that up, it needs to be like, when's the right time?
You don't give it all up though. Like Spencer and I, for example, on Monday, we're going to play poker in Ireland for a week.
Class.
So you don't give everything up, but the organisation involved, like you, I think it's quite interesting. You are in an incredibly privileged position because if you wanted to, you have some disposable income, which means you could do it. You have some time, which means you could do it. You have a job that allows you flexibility and a job that effectively allows you to work from anywhere. If you wanted right now, you could just literally go from here to Singapore.
Yeah.
He can't really. He don't have time to go to the West End. Do you know? Like he can't go to Oxford Street. You could go to Singapore. There is that, and I do agree that there is.
But the key thing is, it's not about what you can and can't do. It's are you happy about it, right?
Yeah.
So like, and this is rich coming from me, but don't overthink it. Don't overthink like, oh, should I want kids? Do I want kids? Just do what makes you happy. And that's all you can do in life. So if what you just described, this freedom is great for you, that's 100% what you should be doing.
But the other thing is that you think that's what will make you happy, but
And
then
it
the
won't.
reality is different because we can all fantasize, especially got like creative mind, like your imagination, you actually get there and then it's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's crap.
So this is a conversation I have with people all the time that are close to me, right? And it's like, yes. So we had it on the pod last week. One day, we have to always be evolving as humans, right? So you can't always be doing the same thing over and over again. The definition of insanity is making the same mistakes again. So you're already aware that there may become a day where pursuing that happiness or doing the thing you think make you happy, it might kind of just run out. It might just not do it for you anymore. Yeah. Just like if you have loads of coffee, you get used to coffee. Coffee doesn't do it for you anymore. If you have loads of painkillers, eventually you adapt to that. So at some point, that lifestyle, if I was to guess, will probably not appeal to you in the way it does now.
Right.
But just let it run its course.
Yeah.
The issue I think we have in modern society, and this is where I went and experienced, and I went away and basically just expanded my mind. I completely changed my outlook. I didn't change my opinions on like what's good and bad and what's a good way to live your life. I basically just went half glass empty to half glass full overnight, right? And what that does for you. So let's talk about this idea that you've got this ability to do whatever you want and go wherever you can do, just great life, undeniably, right? Some people with a negative mindset would look at that. If the day comes when you start to get a bit unfulfilled, they would look at that and go like, you know what? I've just done so much. I've done so much more than the average 29-year-old. I don't know how I get happy after this. I'm a footballer. I've just won the World Cup. I just won the World Cup. And what do I do now? I've just been to the moon. I'm Buzz Aldrin. What do I do now? Right? Now, that's one way of looking at it, 100%. But that's just like Chapel Roan last week was seeing everything from the lens of someone who doesn't want kids. Therefore, when she sees people that are unhappy about having kids, she says that's a reason not to have kids. She's looking for a confirmation of what she thinks. So if you're in a negative headspace and you don't feel good, you're going to go, well, life's done, isn't it? There's nothing for me in here. What you have to do is twist it 180 degrees and you go, yes, maybe this version of me has run out of hedonistic or just like enjoyable individual experiences. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it's now time for me to evolve. Maybe I now become a different version of Joe. I'm not saying you need to do this now, by the way. This is literally what I did. And maybe I just go, I don't need to chase these individual things. I actually have learned enough to know that if I go and do that cool holiday or that cool trip and that work thing, I'm not going to feel any better. I'm not going to actually evolve anymore as a human. I don't need to keep learning this lesson. I've learned it. Right. So I'm going to say no to those things and I'm going to try something I haven't tried before.
Because you know, some of the trips that you've got coming up, for example.
Right.
Whilst I concede they are fantastic for you, I would hate that. I would genuinely hate all of it. All I really want to do is go to a very nice resort in Spain or a very nice resort in Greece, the occasional trip maybe to New York City, and that will do. I don't have that buzz. I don't have that. And I certainly did when I was younger. When I was younger, I certainly had that buzz. I did want to explore. I did want to go everywhere. I did want to go travelling.
Yeah.
Now I just really want to sit in my pajamas in my own house.
The
Be
best
left
way, we
alone.
talk about the Bob Dylan quote a lot. What is the definition of success? It's getting up in the morning, going to bed at night, and doing whatever you want in between, right? So we're all talking about the same thing here, right? You're saying you right now love the idea you can go anywhere and do something. Brilliant, do it. You are winning at life. I'm saying, and he's saying, we want to stay at home with our kids. So we're winning at life.
Yeah,
I wouldn't swap my life for your life right now, and you wouldn't swap your life for my life. So we're both right.
Yeah.
The mistake you'd make would be if you choose to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Because then you'd regret it, and you'd have anger towards yourself and your decision. I personally have never regretted a decision I've made, to be honest, because I've always used that mentality.
Do you think, and I don't want this to sound at all patronising, I really don't, because it isn't meant like that at all. It's just we're older.
Yeah.
Do you think that would your prediction be that Joe at 35 will feel like us? Or do you feel like sometimes people don't?
Well, are you 35?
His acting age is probably about 31.
How old did you think I was? This is very flattering.
Yeah, like, I don't know, 33.
You've got that
But
puppy dog.
But the thing is like, there's this conspiracy that YouTubers get stuck in time. So like, we don't actually like mentally like age.
When he was a kid actor, and you were probably like playing a 14-year-old when you were about 19, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you always had the young.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
young
I was playing like, it was quite weird. When I was acting, I would be a man, like with a girlfriend who was in the pub last night. I'd get to work and they go, "There's your school uniform."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So good.
Genuinely. Yeah, I actually remember doing an episode of Casualty where I was a school kid. Do you know what the episode, like my injury was?
What?
Me and my girlfriend in the episode were snogging and our braces into.
Oh my
So I
God.
spent the whole episode just like that with a girl. I've got to try and find that episode, right? So we're like that, completely like hooked together. I was 25. Do you know what I mean? I'm in a school
And
uniform.
she wasn't an actual 14-year-old actor though.
She weren't 25.
Oh God.
Yeah,
She would have been of legal age.
yeah.
But no, that age thing, yeah, I don't think you can make predictions on like an individual, but if you talk, I just look at general rules of thumb, right? Generally, a lot of men do end up wanting kids, but they might want them later than the woman. And that's why it's completely normal to see relationships that have an age gap, you know, like, because it's actually the way men and women mature. You know, back in the day, it was always a big age gap. Alex's parents are 9 years apart.
Yeah.
Like, that's not that unusual. Like, so it might just be what works for you. But
Yeah.
I think you've just got to, like, I remember having the thought process of thinking I could go and do so much. There's so many things I could go and do. I just didn't want to at the time. Now, if I'm really honest, what I think, as in when we decided to have kids, I literally worked it out and I was making a list. You know, I'm a very like organized person. I was like, right, okay, these are things I could do in the next few years if I didn't have kids. Do I need to do them? Do I want to do them? Can I do them later in life? Would they be more fun if I did them with a teenage son one day? Okay, cool. I'm happy to park all that stuff for now. I will admit that post having kids, there have been periods where I've thought, oh, I could have given it a couple more years and just got a few more things done. But that's not wrong. That is literally life. Your brain will always do that, whatever you choose. You choose not to have kids. One day you'll go, I wish I... Because I also
grass is
sometimes think I wish I
greener,
had kids earlier. Sometimes I think that.
Oh, really?
So like, it's just your brain. It's what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Don't give it control. Just experience it. I know you're very like someone who likes to understand and experience your emotions for what they are. So like, just understand why it's doing what it's doing. If you've ever done any sort of therapy, be it traditional or like alternative, and I've tried a spectrum of that stuff, you have to sort of analyze why your brain works the way it works. And there'll always be a reason, and it's probably something happened to you when you were a kid. Probably. Like I developed probably a need for attention first that came out of being a middle child. Then it came out of it was actually more of a self-defense mechanism at school to be able to combat like bullies and things. I would develop a sharp tongue. I didn't feel confident in like physicality, so I would basically mug them off.
Yeah.
And it became a skill. And then I ended up exploring that as a job because I tried to do stand-up comedy. And then my first breakthrough in this industry was FIFA player, which was basically doing that for a living, taking the piss out of people while I was playing a computer game. But it all stemmed from a need. What you have to do when you get older is actually look at all that stuff. And if you suffer with this sort of thing, some people don't, you have to look back and go, right, which of those traits are serving me now? Probably a lot of them aren't, and they're just negative characteristics that you can discard without any judgment. Just say to the younger Joe, the younger Rory, the younger Spencer, you're a legend. Well done for getting me this point. Don't need to be like that anymore, mate. And that's evolution. That's the stuff I'm talking about.
But equally, sometimes it's not all out of trauma. Sometimes it's like,
No.
I've whacked that kid because that kid was annoying me. Got nothing to do with what happened to me when I was 6. Just a kid was being a prick.
I feel you. It's interesting what you say about the self-sufficient thing as well. Like my reverting to type, like if I'm struggling with something or need to do whatever's going to help me do it best, it'll be like, do it for myself.
Yeah.
Like go away from everyone else and revert back to that. And I wonder if that stems from, I don't know, being younger. Like I never had a dad figure. So I've never seen like a successful dad role, like doing that to me. So I've had to, in certain ways, like I had a stepdad that was great, but not a dad figure. So it was kind of like, I wonder where I've had to like figure out a lot of stuff off my own back, whether that's...
Do you see it in do you see it in your in-law? Do you see it in your future brother-in-law? Is he a devoted father? Like, do you see...
Yes.
And do you see a happiness that comes to him via his children?
No, I do see him quite livid. Not livid, but no, quite...
Yeah, he's half the man he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just do a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
I
think...
don't know, it's weird.
Do you think that lack of father figure as a child is what is playing a part in your unsureness as to whether you want to be one?
100%. And the fact that my mum has relentlessly said, guys, definitely think twice before having kids. It's not the be all and end all. She's never gone, I love being a mum.
No.
She's gone, it doesn't come
It can go the other way. Do you know what? Genuinely, I take... So my dad, I've got a great relationship with now. Brilliant. But I think even he would concede no good as a father.
Right.
My stepdad, who was like good in many ways, was also a terrible influence in many ways. So again, like both not particularly good. They both did their best.
Yeah.
Neither were particularly good. Do you know what I take so much pride from? Like being there, like doing the nights.
Yeah, doing
like you know when I pay the nursery fees.
Yeah.
It feels like my dad didn't do the right thing. Like occasionally Victoria will go, oh, I've got to do the fee. And I'm like, no, symbolically, I'm paying the fees. I'm paying, like, I'm sorting this. I kind of use, in life, I think we always talk about role models, right? This is somebody to aspire to be. Spencer, you talk glowingly about your father, good man. This is how I want to be. Sometimes I think it's quite a good idea to know what you don't want to be as well.
You can have a reverse role model.
That is true. I remember actually like something that made me pursue YouTube in the way I did is like when my mum was like, oh yeah, well actually before that, I made me try so hard in school, even though I was all right, but I got amazing results because my mum was like, I only got like C's and I never was able to go for a job that I wanted to do. And I was like, I do not want to end up like that because I've seen what it's done to her, feeling unfulfilled. So I tried really hard, did the opposite. So you are right in that sense. And I think, it could be like I'm noticing like the areas in which I've missed development without like a proper father figure, that it may make me realise like I want to give that because I know exactly how I wouldn't want my son or daughter to feel.
I think it's a thing called like this stops with us. So things that's passed down. So there are a lot of attributes that have been passed down to me, things that I've inherited, my approach to life that I've definitely got from my upbringing that I say this stops with me. Yeah. Like my daughters I won't pass this on to them. And equally, I will pass on certain values. And I think that can also, it can amplify your parenting, but also make you want to parent because you have something to give both from what you've learned from what you've learned both in a positive and negative sense.
It's interesting the advice you said your mum gave you, because my dad gave me something similar. We talked about it on an earlier episode when I asked him deliberately for some big life advice when I was just finishing uni, and he said, don't settle down too young. That was the only thing he said, right? So you can interpret that as, oh, he's not enjoyed his life. He didn't mean like that at all, I know for a fact, but he was probably looking a little bit about the world as it is now as well, compared to when he was a kid. He was, some opportunity, go and live your life. He meant it as a positive. And I'm not going to pretend, like, I've met your mum once or twice, but I'm not going to pretend to know the inner complexities of her life and your life. But you mentioned some of the fact that your dad wasn't around and things like this. So like her advice, she's just trying to be a good mum, right? I know, I'm very sure she is. So she's trying to give you advice for your life, but that is implicitly tied up in her experience as well. Do you know what I mean? So like, maybe, I don't know, and I'm going to talk generically here, not about your mum, but generically, someone might say that to you because they regret doing that because maybe it didn't have the results they wanted. But that doesn't mean it's a Bible for life.
Yeah.
Because someone else might be perfect. And we talked about, you said that the traits of our grandparents and things, they're good. And I think Joe's completely right to say their world doesn't exist anymore. Our world is so different. But some people just want that life. The example that comes to my head is, I don't know if you've watched Clarkson's Farm, Jeremy Clarkson show, but Caleb is
the
boy in that. He's never been to London and he just wants to be a farmer. And he's got those ideals alive and well, living in the countryside. You can tell he'll go out with a girl, marry a girl. I think he's had a kid now actually from his village, and that is it. And so they are alive, those traits in certain places. And another quote that comes to mind, well, a thing that comes to mind, Tom Hardy is obviously a load of people love Tom Hardy and he's a bit of a legend. Also does BJJ, by the way, jiu-jitsu. But he did this quote once, and I think I saved it on my phone. I thought it was so good. Someone asked him about, because he's maybe this sort of like archetypal man, isn't he? He's like good looking, he's strong, he's people like Hollywood the idea star, of being Tom Hardy, basically. Yeah. And he was like, you know what I think is a good man? Is the dad that you've never heard of, who gets up in the morning, does the job he doesn't like. I'm not saying it's aspirational, but and just does it without any complaints, and he's there for his kids when they need him, and gives good advice, and just takes it on the chin every single day. That's the guy I want to be like. Not necessarily Tom Hardy saying he wants to do that gig, but he's saying that's the traits of a good man, not a guy who dresses up in costumes to pretend to be someone else and gets paid millions of pounds for it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I thought, that's why I think Tom Hardy he's a good person to look up to, not because of the stuff he does in his career, because of his outlook.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that, like there is an element of that as well, where I know that is almost the person I aspire to be. Is I want to one day be a father that is good. And I think that's why I'm a bit like ruffled by it, because I'm like, I can't see how to do that yet. I know what you were saying about like let life play its course, but I do see how the ultimate like fulfilling and like feeling like you're doing the life experience, being a human to the best as a man that you can be, does include being a dad and a good one and a responsible one that's accountable and there and providing. And I can see how that will fulfill me. Yeah.
You're just still on that journey.
Yeah. You can see like look, you're a good, kind man. Yeah. You know, you're a good person. No, you genuinely are though. You know, you've lived a very strange life.
I think it's so strange.
Yeah, people have known you from day dot. Like you've been so famous.
Do you think that? Well, how old were you when you had your first of all made your first video, and then your first one was it the How to Be a KSI video?
But the first one that popped was my like fourth one in on that channel, which was the How to Be KSI. But I've been doing videos from like 13 years old.
And how you know the one that you just said popped there? How old were you for that one?
For that one, I was 16 or 17, 16.
The streets are saying it was the How to Be FIFA player video that really got you up there. Like that was the
I was such a fan of FIFA player. Like, and at first I actually didn't know it was Spence.
No,
so it was
no
just sort of like
it's great.
He was just one of my favourite YouTuber. But yeah, like so doing that and being exposed to all of that and all the probably dopamine hits and the ability to do whatever that you get from doing that, basically your brain's still developing.
Yeah.
You two are actually like the British YouTube originals, aren't you? You are part of the first wave.
Part of a group.
You're part of the very first wave. The pioneers.
The big thing I had different to that group is that I was about 5 or so years older. I mean, I'm 36 now, but generally in that group, whether it's JJ or whoever, I was like 5+ years older than them. And I'm not saying, I think it's positives to both, clearly, right? Yeah. Those guys are all way ahead of the game and they've had great careers, as you all have. For me, I know for me, I wouldn't change it, because if I think I had the notoriety or whatever you want to call it, attention on me at 18, I would have spiraled and I would have been C word, 100%. Like I would have been. And I might have come out of it eventually, but I definitely needed the context. Great example is, first time I went freelance, I'd been working in like production, content. I wanted to be more creative. I wanted to concentrate on my YouTube videos, but I had no one watching them. This is all pre-FIFA play and all that stuff. So I went freelance. I was like cameraman, editor, making videos, music videos for people, that sort of thing. First time I did that, I just like, I didn't work hard enough. I didn't understand what it meant to be self-employed. So I did the work as it came in. I played loads of FIFA, which ended up working well because I got quite good at it. I was going to the gym every day. So I was like a good, healthy person, but I wasn't thriving in any way.
You know when you two made those videos though? When you made your original You weren't doing it for finance, right? Like there was no, it
No,
wasn't.
there's something else driving us for sure. I don't think you could.
No,
have known
no.
there
So
was a
I
career.
wanted to be a filmmaker, like make films originally. It was just
Right.
that YouTube. I saw that you can do funnier videos as well that kind of suited my personality of what I was actually about. And I was like, let me give them a go because they're easier to turn around as well. But then I also saw I calculated how I would make it my job though. It was in like I'm gonna make a video about this biggest, like the massive YouTuber called KSI, who I really enjoy watching. He's going to enjoy it so much that he hits like on it, and then it's going to get sent to his followers.
Which is so good back then.
And then
It's huge.
you hit like on it, and it gets
Is that what used
it's
to
basically like
happen?
you've uploaded a video.
It was like
It
a
gets
free
sent out.
collab. It was
Yeah,
like,
mate, it was ideal. And like, unfortunately, like he enjoyed it, and that happened. And then off the back of that, I've got boom, 10,000 subscribers.
But that wasn't ever a
Feed.
job, though. It was your motivation for making it. Neither of you could have ever envisaged
No, but
that there
in-
would be monetization
No,
branding.
but in the same way, I probably thought this could get me a job as a radio DJ or help my stand up or I'd whatever be. You would probably think it's going to help me get into filmmaking or help me get into the things you ended up doing.
You've both had the vision there. Like, it's very impressive because I was working in TV, and I don't think that anybody that was working in TV then would have ever thought that the route and pathway into
No, because you were indoctrinated already. You were already indoctrinated in
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, that's
is
true.
the
I
way.
started
Yeah, that's-
studying to get into TV, and it really emphasized to me how that was like everyone's getting taught to be the same person here,
yeah.
doing the same thing. And I'm like, this YouTube thing, I knew YouTubers were earning money. I know it's only going to go one way. So that's why I dropped out.
It's
Take the
very,
road-
it's very
road
wise,
taken.
both of you, man.
But people at the time were being like, you are an idiot.
Exactly. We all had that. We all
Like,
had that.
telling you, what are you doing, you numbskull?
What helped me with what I was saying about that when I went freelance is that when I then went back freelance a second time, i.e. I quit my job to be a YouTuber, I'd learned from my mistake. So not only had I had jobs, some of which I didn't like, so I had context to go, I cannot go back.
Yeah.
I'm not going back. And I also had understanding that if you didn't give it 100%, you weren't going to make it because I'd literally learned those lessons. That's why I think it worked for me. I was 25 or 24, 25 when I quit full time to be YouTube before I had any money from YouTube because I'd learned enough to know I'm going to have to make this work. If I was 18, that's what I used to say. So impressive about these younger guys who have made it is what context did they have? Like what context did JJ have? What jobs has he done? I don't think he'd ever had a job. Maybe he had a little one I don't know about, but like to have the drive to just make it from that age without knowing what you're going to go back to potentially if you fail, I don't think I had it. I had to learn first. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to see the context of what was out there for me in the world.
You were visionaries.
Well,
Visionaries.
I don't know, but we're definitely in the. For me, I think a lot of it's right place, right time. That thing you talked about, like in the video. So I literally developed a whole strategy around it. So my job at Copper 90 was my title was audience development manager. Basically, meant I had to get us subscribers. That was my job, right? And we actually had an aim. We had to get 1 million subscribers or 100,000 in the first year, maybe, because it was a Google Originals channel. So it's funded by Google. And if you achieved that goal, they give you some more money.
Right.
So, and I mean, I'm hired by these sort of old school production guys who make adverts and make films. They're really good at what they do, but no idea about YouTube. So I am the guru in the office, right? So I'm just like, right, okay. And we ended up basically not only hiring JJ to present the series, but he had to like every video. That was one of the deliverables because we knew that is like 300k video views, bang, overnight, subscribers.
The like button doesn't have the same
Doesn't do
power.
anything.
No.
Irrelevant now.
No, right.
Its algorithms changed so many times over the years, but that was gold dust back then. But then actually, the thing that ended up, and genuinely is complete luck, really, that ended up being the launchpad for my career, which was FIFA Player, was, I don't know what it looked like from the outside in, but it was completely reverse engineered to get subscribers. We basically were paying people like KSI and other people more money than we could afford to keep paying them. So my job is to get us subscribers. So I'm now going, okay, I need a cheaper way to get subscribers. What's getting us subscribers is collaborations with YouTubers. Okay, what can I come up with that is cheaper than paying the big YouTubers? Has to be some sort of gap in the market, some sort of opportunity. It's actually linked to Joe, and he doesn't even know this, right? It's an idea that's cheap. Okay, well, you have to use our own talent. I wasn't even, we piloted FIFA Player with David Vianic. He did a pilot of being FIFA Player.
Wow.
And then but it wasn't really working. We love Vuj, he's amazing, but he wasn't good enough at FIFA, basically. And I basically went, I could do it. And they went, go on then. And that's how I got the gig. It was my idea, but I originally had someone else doing it. But anyway, I come up with a show that was going to get subscribers because we're going to go to first episode to Cal Freezy in the Penfez's house. These YouTubers, pay them to be in the video and share it. But it was cheaper than the JJ series was. And that, combined with the other stuff we did, got us where we needed to get to. But the funny thing about the idea inception, so this is, I think, maybe one of the reasons that I first warmed to you when I first discovered Joe, is because his sort of breakout video, if you like, was how to be KSI and then how to be FIFA Player. one of the first videos I did years before FIFA Player that got any sort of views, there was this guy, he was at uni at the time, and I was a couple of years out of uni, called Man versus Booze. And it was a play on word on Man versus Food.
Yeah, I remember.
But he wore a balaclava. He was a uni student, and he did ridiculous drinking challenges. One of them, he downed a bucket of absinthe. He had to go get stomach pumped. He nearly did die. To get his stomach pumped. There ended up being these Reddit forums and stuff about who he really was. I did an expose on him, which is so ironic because then I was trying to get videos taken down that were exposing me as FIFA player years later.
It was you, did they?
I did later on. They did, but I did a video. You might have even done one actually. Someone did one like comparing a freckle. Now I don't think it was you. Comparing a freckle on my arm to the FIFA player. But the point is, I got the idea for FIFA player from Man vs. Booze.
Right.
I want a masked character, and also Stig, Top Gear, all that sort of thing.
How did it tie into Joe?
Well, because Joe's video of how to be FIFA player was reminding me of when I did my expose on Man versus Booze. It's what gave me the idea. So it was like all these things sort of tie together in time, but it was me exposing a masked person that gave me the idea to be a masked person.
Right.
And then other people would end up exposing me, or like yours was more of like the silly jokes I made and stuff. It's been a long time since then, Joey boy. What's that? 10 years ago. It's about 11 years ago.
Bring it back, mate.
And yeah, I forget how long ago it is since I did it. We were talking about this off air earlier when you scored your goal recently at the Cybering game. So happy to see it. Not only because of the beautiful synergy in the moment that you scored in the first Wembley Cup 10 years ago on my team. Then we played against each other in the second one, Weller Wanderers versus Spencer FC. Yeah. We had our own little captain's situation. But then you scored that goal. And there was obviously this sort of redemption arc, wasn't there, for you and the journey you've been on in YouTube and stuff. And like, I never saw it like that. I know you must have, I was sort of watching from the outside in all the stuff you went through with the boxing. And how was that for you? Because similar to me in a way, some people say to me that I was definitely part of the group that pioneered the sort of football games on YouTube. Yeah. You very much started with our friend Theo, the boxing thing. And then you had a fight with JJ. Mm-hmm. Then you had a few other fights. Obviously, JJ took it to the moon and fought Logan Paul and all this stuff and that. And you kind of like, I mean, I don't really know exactly what you went through, but it seemed like from the outside, obviously losing a fight as well affected you maybe because of the reaction to it and the comments.
I don't think it was actually 100% or even like 25% the fight. I think it was that I was done. What we were talking about earlier about like, you get to a point where you've sort of exhausted everything that you want to do in a certain way, and now you actually evolve and other things might interest you more. I hadn't figured out what interested me, but I was done with what was interesting me, making videos. That's why I went down the boxing route. Right. It was like, oh, I'd love to be an athlete. I've run out of I've done all the videos that I want to make. So now let's do this boxing thing. Let's absolutely dial down. JJ said he's going to do it. Let's make that happen. Mm-hmm. But obviously I really did not enjoy the whole boxing experience. I didn't get taught like in the most effective way. It was just like going in every day, sparring, brawling, broken nose, broken this, busted knuckles. Like we were just brawling every day. And I was like, I can't wait for this to be done. Right. I'll win the fight, but I can't wait to never ever do this again. But fuck knows what I'm going to do after. Anyways, the fight happened how it went. I was obviously bottled it and it was so annoying. And like, I was gutted at that, but it was also like, what now? Yeah. Because
put so much energy.
Even if I'd just won, it was like, I didn't know what videos I wanted to make. And then everyone almost feeling like that they turned on me, like my viewers. It was like, I don't even know who I'm talking to now. So it's like that thing that I thought I'd never, ever run out of, which is my ability to entertain and be creative. I now was like, I'm looking down the lens and I'm terrified. And I don't know now where to take this. I don't want to now just go to say like a more stereotypical job that I could go maybe in film or whatever. I did try presenting on certain boxing shows, maybe BT Sports, Sky Sports. But I didn't just want to be someone that interviews the guy that's doing something. I wanted to be the guy doing something, right? So I think there was just a period where I didn't know and waffling came around. That was the first thing. So it was like waffling sort of got me back into things.
And so interesting that was within a sort of safe space of friends from home. Do you know what I mean? Who are obviously all involved in the industry and like, you know, in many ways, I don't think you'll mind me saying this, but you probably kickstarted Theo's whole journey, didn't you?
100%.
You brought him in, yeah. Like,
not a little bit.
No, yeah.
All of it.
Well, I would say the same, for example, about my older brother. I don't mean that. Like, Seb's doing amazing things now with his golf, and he's got the Big Wedge channel with some of the Sidemen boys, and like, you know, thriving, and he's a very good businessman in this space. Those people we know would have worked with him and stuff. So everything he has, he deserves.
But what you're saying is he's totally clinging onto your coattails.
I don't think it's a stretch to say he never would have made a YouTube video if it wasn't for me, because he wasn't interested in that world at all. To the point where he actually delayed starting his golf channel by a couple of years when I first told him to do it, because he just wasn't sure if it was the cool thing to do. And I think that cost him a lot of subscribers, because they were the golden years. But anyway, you then revert to your sort of safe space, pals from home.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons I love waffling. I think it's great. You can tell you guys have that chemistry that is just like you're sitting with your mates, because that's what you're doing. And what did that do for you? Did it re-energize you? Do you feel like you've found your purpose again now?
I think what happened is I found this space that I could do my thing, like express, be funny, whatever. But it didn't translate to then my own channel. My own channel became this almost like a trauma, like where it's like, imagine you've burnt your hand on a kettle and now you're trying to reach that kettle again. It's like my channel, my own YouTube channel, I couldn't shake that. So I had waffling, I could do that all day long. We created, and that's why that was all I did. I wasn't uploading to my main channel, and people really loved it. But it's only in like the last like year or so that I've actually started to get active on my channel again.
What changed?
And what changed? I think going away solo traveling really helped. That made me like seeing the world, operating off your own back, like realizing, you just realize who you are a little bit. And then off the back of doing that and not even trying to make videos out of it, not even trying to be like, Joe, you need to take advantage of the opportunity that you've created for yourself on YouTube. I was just like, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to go and do some personal development and see the world. I think that then got me to a point where I was like, I'm just ready. I'm just ready to express. And the first thing that came up is going on Sidemen Inside.
Yes, yeah.
That was, I got the call. I was in Sri Lanka driving around a tuk-tuk. We hired tuk-tuks out to just drive around the whole country. I just get a call from their producers. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, they want you to be on this new show that they've never done before. I was like, I'm in. Let's go.
And what was your relationship? On Sidemen is obviously a group of 7 different individuals, but what was your relationship towards that group or towards JJ in this era? Because you're post-fight now, a bit of time has passed. Was it a good relationship at that point?
Mate, calm. I think what's weird, right, is where like me and JJ have never actually sat down like this.
Yeah, you should. That would be an amazing
we
video.
sat on waffling.
Yeah.
Over Zoom.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So that was over Zoom, but it's not like just sat down and even off camera, just having like full-blown convo. Like that's actually never happened. So I think
you've got to do that. You know when people go like Mayweather needed to fight Pacquiao earlier. Like you've got to do it. Give the people what they want.
100%.
This is Fury Joshua.
100%. And I think like what am I saying?
Relationship.
So having, I think, ups and downs even since the fight. You interpret a tweet or you interpret the way something said in a video, and like I think both of us like would bite towards each other online and never feel like we were safe in each other's presence. That I don't know. I don't know what fully made things click back in together, but I know I just got that call from the Sidemen. Maybe it was that like I did come out in videos and say fair play to what JJ's doing. Fair play. When he lost his fight, I came out and said like nice things, like not just like surface level. Like as someone that's been in that position, literally, I think the way in which I was speaking about the Sidemen and speaking about them honestly started to come through, rather than it just be that Joe, because there was a period of time where I was like, expressing myself in a negative way about those boys. So I think it was just, I
think part of that, you're in the foray of the promoting of a fight, and things do get personal. And listen, I'm sure I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. I consider JJ a friend. He's done amazing things for my career, all of our careers, really. But I thought the Wayne Bridge thing was in really poor taste. Like I have to say, now I know that Wayne Bridge, he should have known what he was in for, and he should have not accepted that fight. If anyone that knows about the boxing scene knows, especially in the sort of misfits and the social boxing scene, they're going to come for you. Early on, someone asked me if I wanted to fight, and I was just like, absolutely. I like the idea of a fight.
Yeah.
I hate the idea of having this drama. Really trying to stay away from that.
You know, when I saw that, and obviously you boys, I barely know. I know Ethan a bit from the Sidemen, but I don't really know many of them at all well. I just assumed that when I saw that clip, because as you say, it was quite grim. I just thought that it must have all been pre-organised. I thought that Wayne Bridge must have given his approval for that to happen. And he obviously didn't, because he left.
No.
He obviously didn't.
I think he should have known it was a chance it was coming. But the way I sat when I watched it is I always try and do this. If I see something I don't get, or I think, how can they do that? And natural response is to be like, they're the bad guys and we're the good guys. Life isn't like that. There's no one that is actually a bad guy knows they are, right? That's the whole point. Very few people are deliberately going around doing evil. So I'm looking at JJ, what would make him say that? Because he doesn't need to. The man's got everything. The man's got
Wayne
everything.
Bridge?
I'm talking about, like, again, maybe it's because he hasn't got kids, JJ. Maybe because as I look at that and I think, my first thought is Wayne Bridge's kids are going to hear that. Now, of course, I'm sure they know about what's gone on in his life. Someone at school probably tells them. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I think
Kids
it's
are like that.
I think it's our first fight. How I got in his head, and the only time that anyone's actually ever got in his head is during our build-up. I think he knows how much that hurt and affected him. That now that's the tactic he uses on everyone. He did it to Logan. He's doing it to everyone, where he goes super like something that's going to cut him deep as a person, and he doesn't know any other way.
But my issue with it, like Dylan Dennis, what he did to Logan Paul, for example, like it's so unnecessary, right? I just look at JJ's. I know he's better than that. Like I know he's a good lad.
Same.
He's a very good lad. So I think what he did was
JJ compared to KSI, the boxer, is two different people.
And it is an act.
JJ is the most lovely geezer.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, like when I say like I've never sat down like this in a proper chat, I have spoke to it.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like you can tell like he is so caring, such a genuine guy, and like has such a big heart. But then he puts on this KSI character, and it's like
literally
fuck
that
me.
Well, I think it's more than
just
that.
Clever. Maybe it's just. I think it's literally selling the fight.
He's got a company.
Yeah, but has it sold the fight or has it ruined the fight?
Well, this is why
the motivation. The
to-
outcome didn't necessarily go as I think he would have anticipated. But what it would have done, if Wayne didn't walk away from the fight, it really would have amplified the noise around the fight. It would have made
definitely, and that's why you need Jake Paul, because he's the only other guy I think that there is in this space that is going to give it as good as he can take it, and that would. But
did you ever go back to the boxing world?
So I actually last year was training for like 6 months straight. Like I got quite good at it, and like
when are you going to fight Bazinga at one point?
So Bazinga, it was like I got sort of the idea that he was up for it, so I thought I'd come and do a big call out, and it's like let's go, and that's meant to be happening. I get told like from Mams he's up for it, but then it just never materialized, and then he comes out and says, "Oh no, they didn't offer enough money." So I was sort of like, I mean, fair enough. He's got the Sidemen stuff going on. He doesn't need to do
a good fight because he's a good guy. Do you know there could be something quite refreshing in actually having almost a noble fight?
Would it go like that though? Would everyone get? This is the thing. I don't.
Joe's a gentleman. Ethan's a gentleman. Maybe it would just be like a noble fight.
Yeah, I just think
you've got to sell seats. You've got to sell.
It's very difficult because also like I found like with the whole boxing thing, like getting into the headspace of like wanting to hurt people, like it's definitely not in my nature. Don't get me wrong, like I was able to do it, but it definitely had mental effects on me. Like whenever I try and do boxing on a long-term basis, my mental health deteriorates because I'm being a version of me that I don't actually want to be. And I'm doing things to myself, taking damage, giving damage. That's just not. I like genuinely. I think if you're a fighter, you are a certain breed. Like you can't just go. I'm going to be a fighter. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's all about, as you get older. For me personally, being authentic. Right, you've got these personalities that some of it we're born with. You look at our kids now, and you'll see they have this natural personality that hasn't been given to them by outside. We haven't been
from minute one as well.
Yeah, like and we lose it. Basically, we get, in the words of Bob Dylan, we get bent out of shape by society's pliers. Right. And the act of growing up is bending yourself back in and being comfortable with whatever that is. And I think I've thought the same thing about jiu-jitsu myself. Like I am naturally not an aggressive person. I don't want to hurt people. I love the idea of being able to defend myself. So rather than trying to be aggressive and trying to be what that guy's really good at because he's just an angry fucker who wants to beat me up, I actually started to really analyze it deeply and think about like, I play a lot of racket sports. When I play racket sports, I have a very one strategy for table tennis, squash, pretty much paddle, everything's the same, is I don't try and hit winners. I try and get everything back. And you play paddle with you. I'm really good at getting it back. Like I'll get things back from crazy angles, but I never try and hit a winner. One, because I'm not probably technically good enough to do it. But two, I know I'm more patient than that person. I know he'll give up before I do. So now I apply that logic to my jiu-jitsu. And I go, right, I'm not saying it's the best way to win championships, but I'm not going to try and become this really aggressive, like powerful person. I'm going to watch them and wait for they make a mistake, and then I'm going to do it in my own style. So I think in life you have to be. I think you've been very good at that. Like I know when you were doing the JJ stuff, you become a little bit of public enemy number one because you're going against JJ. You're going against the internet's golden boy. It's natural. You become the heel, right?
Yeah.
But that clip, and I don't know Mams, and I've got nothing against the man, but that clip when you sort of stand up to him in the press conference and sort of say like, "I got you your job, pal," like. It's the perfect response because you're in this toxic energy environment and you've come back and gone, rather than getting in the gutter and just making up shit, I'm just going to tell you how it actually is. And he's nothing the guy could have said. He could be a lovely guy, but the fact is, you created that industry, and people forget that. And I think I'm sure you do give yourself a pat on the back from time to time. It's very important we do this. Give each other our flowers and say, well done. You're 10 years and plus in the game in a very competitive world. You do have to have your little periods where you go away. I think I'm very lucky. I consider myself like a legacy YouTuber. And by that, I mean, if I try and play the game that everyone else plays now, all these shorts and things, people just don't want to see it. They like me because I represent this old version of YouTube. And if I want a video to do well, I have to do it that way. I have to do the old school, lots of chat, no frills. And it means you can go away for a little bit and come back because the people have a different connection. And I think you're in that category. You shouldn't worry about taking yourself out the limelight if you need to do it for personal development. What is it they say? No flowers in nature bloom all year round, right? Like, okay, I think technically there's some things that do, but some trees. But, the point is, we're artists, aren't we? We like to think of ourselves as artists. You can't just create 24/7. Then you're just a factory.
Mate, it's been brilliant, Joe. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Let's finish. I've got an idea. We've never done this before. You don't know what you want to do long term with kids and stuff. It's the internet dads. I want you to look down the camera and give a message to the Joe Weller of 10 years from now. What do you want him to be? What do you want your next 10 years to look like? And where do you think he will be in that conversation of parenthood? And maybe 10 years from now, we'll watch this back, hopefully, if we're still going.
Joseph, it's good to see you, brother. You made it. Come on. Firstly, I just hope that you are at peace with the person that you are. You're proud of yourself and you haven't given up doing things that are out of your comfort zone, realizing that you're capable of far more than you can conceive in this moment, and you are the father of 2 beautiful children.
Oh,
Hey.
Maybe, who knows? But I think, just like that element of not giving up and persevering and allowing things to breathe and flow. Because one thing that I think in this day and age, the gratification that we get, the speed at which we think things should happen, like you forget that, think how long it takes to build a muscle, to grow a plant, to grow hair. Like everything's actually moving a lot slower. And I think if we allow things to actually grow at the pace that they naturally do, things will go as exactly as you hope.
Brilliant,
Joe.
You're a
Absolutely
gentleman.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you, Joe.
Respect.
Really, really lovely, man.
What a
Thank you so
legend.
much for coming on.
Nice one, boys.
Cheers, mate.
So great.
Legends.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.